Hey everybody, Black Ninja, Son Under 97 here, and welcome back to another episode of Left 4 Dead 2 Myth Busting Mondays. And in today's video, for the final myth, we're going to be testing to see if whether or not that if in a game of versus mode, if a player has the highest amount of damage in the versus lobby compared to his teammates, will that player get priority when the game is deciding on who becomes the tank? So, in other words, the simple way of explaining it is, if you do the most amount of damage in a versus game, do you get to become the tank? So that's what we're testing here at the end of today's video. If you guys end up enjoying today's video, please drop a like, subscribe if you are new, and if you have a myth of your very own that you'd like to have be featured in next week's episode, please by all means leave it here in the comments down below, or also alternatively, you can leave it in my Discord server, which is going to be linked down below in this video's description. All that being said, guys, I hope you end up enjoying seeing this week's episode of Left 4 Dead 2 Myth Busting Mondays. Myth: can infected damage you with no arms? Alrighty guys, myth 1 is submitted in by Duck, and please do forgive me if I mispronounced your name. Now regarding your myth, this was the closest we were able to get to an armless zombie, where it's just basically his shoulders. And in terms of damage, yep, he can still damage you. He basically took me down with his little arm nub things, which is actually kind of funny now that I think about it. But yes, myth number 1 is confirmed. Zombies can kill you with basically no arms. Myth: are hazmat infected actually not fireproof and will die from fire if kept in the fire for long enough? Alrighty guys, the second myth is submitted in by Ace Rose. Alrighty guys, so we are on NSenr Chapter 1, we spawned in a hazmat zombie, and we're literally just going to fast forward the footage and just let Father Time do the rest. Please do feel free to let me know in the comment section down below what you think the final result is going to be, if whether or not that you think that this is a load of baloney, or if the fireproof zombie slash hazmat zombie is eventually going to die. Now for those of you that guessed that he was going to die, you were the ones that ended up being right. Trust me, this actually shocked me too initially, because I was like, wait, there's no way. I thought that the zombie just died from like lack of player engagement, and that was just a fluke. But believe it or not, no, it wasn't a fluke, because we spawned in a hazmat zombie outside of the fire this time, and this zombie had survived much, much longer. In fact, he never did die basically before we decided to end up closing app. So this zombie ended up lasting like over 4 minutes, whereas the original first zombie in the fire only survived at the longest a minute 30. Which means that the myth is going to be confirmed. Yes, hazmat or fireproof zombies will actually eventually die to fire if left in there long enough, so it's not necessarily that they're fireproof, it's more like they're fire resistant. Myth: does a boomer's horde spawn in a flat amount of infected? Alrighty guys, myth 3 is submitted in by Sharamine, and by the way, shouts to Ace who made myth 2 a second ago, because without him, this myth wouldn't be possible, because he actually showed us how to be able to use our admin menu within other game modes like Versus, which makes myths like these possible now. Now, Sharamine's myth, he wants us to be able to test this in different difficulties, with multiple players, and also in versus compared to single player. So what we're going to do is we're going to spawn a boomer in multiple different instances and just count how many infected spawn each time. Alright, so for test number 1, we're just going to be doing this in normal campaign, and we're going to be using 1 survivor on normal mode. The zombies are all going to be going after Nick. Alright, so now after taking a screenshot and then marking all the different zombies that I saw with a white little dot, I ended up adding them up, and it looks like that there is 28 on Nick himself, and then there's also going to be 1 additional zombie that was just off camera over here, making that 29 zombies altogether. This is going to be the test where we end up having multiple survivors. In this case, we have both Nick and Rochelle this time. Now taking this back into Photoshop once again, unless my eyes are deceiving me, it looks like it's going to be 29 zombies again. Now I did take a look at the Left 4 Dead wiki just to verify some things, just to make sure that my eyes were not deceiving me, and then there's this right here saying that there's roughly about 20 zombies spawned in when a boomer ends up attacking a survivor every single time. Now even the wiki itself doesn't say exactly 20, it says the word about 20. So since the number that we got was 29, which is within still the same range, I believe that this is a negligible difference and is basically around the same thing. When we did this test on expert difficulty, we had roughly the same number of zombies again. This time it was actually at 25 zombies instead of 29. And then when we tested this in a game of Versus with a human-controlled boomer, this ended up being about 27. Now regarding myth number 3, I'm personally going to label that as plausible, and the reason why is because if you want to get nitpicky or not. Because the myth specifically asks if it ranges And from what I can see, yes, it ranges, but by a very small number, like a couple zombies here or there, like less than 5 or so. The problem is, though, is that that's still a range, even if it's a very small range, and the wiki itself even does say that this can be about 20 or around 20, but not exactly 20. So rather than say that this myth is confirmed or busted, I'm just going to let you, the viewer, decide based off of your own beliefs. Do you think that this is something that is very negligible? Or do you think that if it varies even by like 1 or 2 zombies, that's enough to call the myth one way or the other? Myth: is there a secret reload animation for the auto shotgun? Alrighty guys, myth number 4 is submitted in by Sarah. So in some of the most recent episodes of Myth-Busting Mondays, we've been testing to see if certain guns have hidden reload animations. The first one of these was the hunting rifle, and that ended up being confirmed. The second one was the SG, which was busted. So now we're going to be testing out the auto shotty. Given the fact that this was one of the original Left 4 Dead 1 guns, I believe it's higher than what the SG was, but it still might be on the lower end of things because from what I was able to research, I was not able to find anything on the wiki about it. Now you can glitch the auto shotgun and have a weird animation if you mess around with it enough like this, but this is just a glitch and not like a reload animation like the hunting rifle had. So, in regards to myth number 4, I'm going to say that it's busted. I believe whatever you must have experienced, friend, it was probably like a visual glitch like that. Myth: does the player with the highest damage count on the infected team in versus take priority when the game chooses a player to control the tank? Alrighty guys, and then the last myth of today's episode is submitted in by Rigamortem. Now since we can use admin menus now in Versus, this is what we're going to do. We're going to disable the director temporarily, and we're going to end up freezing the survivors and have me just be doing damage to them. And Dan is going to do absolutely nothing other than just watch. We're going to then re-enable the director after doing a certain amount of damage to the surviving team, and then we're going to see whether or not that I get the tank or if Dan gets the tank. Now, on the first go around here, when it comes to who got the tank, it was me. So that is going to be 1 versus 0. Now, doing this the second time, once again, it was just only me doing damage to the surviving team. In regards to the tank, I also got him again, which means that in regards to getting the tank, I am now 2 for 2. And then for the third and the fourth time, I decided to let Dan be the one that's doing damage. So here's Dan doing damage on attempt number 3. And when it comes to the tank, he actually got it this time. So now it's 2 versus 1. And then here's footage of the last attempt. So once again, Dan's the only one doing damage. In regards to the tank, he also got the tank again. So now both me and Dan ended up getting a tank 2 separate times each after we were the ones that did the highest amount of damage in the lobby. Now when it comes to this myth, at any point, if we ended up getting a game where the person that did the least amount of damage, especially if it was at 0, got to the tank, then this myth would have automatically been busted. However though, every single playthrough, the person with the highest damage got the tank, which is pretty coincidental to say the least. Now, I will say this, is that our sample size is very small. We only ended up doing this 4 different times, so I'm not going to call it confirmed because of how little we ended up doing this. However though, I am going to call it plausible, and here is why. When you are playing an average game of Versus, at this point I feel like it's safe to say that more times than not, everyone's around the same skill level, and for those that are not, they usually don't last long and they get kicked anyways. So the people that stay in the game long term are usually getting the same amount of score as each other, or in other words, they're probably doing the same amount of damage if they're on the infected team. And so at any moment, the snap of a finger, you could overtake someone, which means that it's a very random chance about who will probably get the tank. You might get it 1 round, then your teammate might get it another round, then you'll get it back the round after that, and you're probably too invested in the gameplay anyways to notice if whether or not that you're doing the highest amount of damage at the exact same time that you got control of the tank. Like, you know what I mean? But when you do a scenario like this, or a control test, where you're playing with just 2 people in a private lobby, where one's doing damage and one other guy's clearly not doing any, and the tank is given to the player that does all the damage the last 4 times in a row, you gotta admit that's a little bit coincidental, don't you think? But yeah guys, that is it here for today's video, and I do truly hope you guys ended up enjoying it. If you did, please consider dropping a like, comment, subscribe, follow, and all that beautiful stuff. And if you guys have a myth of your very own that you would like to have be featured in next week's episode, please by all means leave it here in the comments down below. Or also alternatively, you can leave it within my Discord server, which is going to be linked down below in this video's description. As we wrap up with the video, guys, just want to mention two last quick things. Number one, I have a second YouTube channel now. It is called Black Ninja 797 Extras. And on this channel, I'm going to be uploading and posting additional content that you would normally not see here on my main channel, such as gameplay walkthroughs, funny moments with my friends, and Challenge Accepted, which was the series I used to do here on my main channel where I play games that you guys request me to play. If you want to check out the second channel, there is going to be a link down below in this video's description. I also wanted to say thank you and shouts to Epic Games for being my first ever sponsor. I have a supporter creator code with them, and the code is just my name, Black Ninja 797 in all caps. If you guys want to, you can use it in the Fortnite and Epic Games item shops. Anybody that uses my code or has used it before in the past, I tremendously appreciate you. And yeah, guys, all that being said, I hope you ended up enjoying seeing another YouTube video from the most unique YouTubers are ever going to see. Thanks for watching, guys. I love all of you, and peace out.
Hey meme lords, Jesus here, and you better have enjoyed that video there by the eternal god Daddy Ninja. You should probably subscribe too, or the mighty Moab will come for your balls. If you enjoyed the video, you might like it too, and give me the memes. Flash, bang, boom!